Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.
Hello, everyone, and
Hey,
welcome.
welcome.
Yes, welcome to our Cube Table Talks, where we keep it real,
Where we keep it relevant,
and where we keep it raw.
Yeah.
I am one of your co-hosts, Dr. Marcia Burden-Tiggs, and next to me I have the lovely.
I am Pastor Kimberly, and we are your your hosts, and we have some amazing co-hosts that are with us, and so we're gonna introduce them with ladies first. Now, I know y'all are used to seeing the fellas, but we have a beautiful voice that's here. So introduce yourself to the people, for the people.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ava Deay, Ava D, whichever. I am a sophomore here at Oakwood University, and I am a nursing major.
Awesome.
All right, and next to me I have the pleasure of introducing this wonderful young man. Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. My name is Joseph Morant. I am a senior here at Oakwood University, and I'm a public policy major.
All right. Awesome. Yes, so we are super excited for today. We have a lot to talk about. A lot has been happening. So let's just get into it.
Let's get into it.
Let's figure out what's going on with the church. What's good, church?
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.
All right, we are back.
Yes.
Welcome. For those who might have just been joining us, this is the first time you've ever seen our Cube Table Talks. We do a segment called What's Good Church.
What's Good Church?
In this segment, we talk all things church. All right, so are you all ready today for today's topic about what's good church?
Yes,
Ooh, it's a hot topic right now, especially
real hot.
right here.
Yes, so today we're going to be talking about church, and not just church as a community, but more so churches in a building, where people gather together to have a worship service. So here's the question on the table. Do you all believe that people of the Christian faith, so for those who are watching, we are Seventh-day Adventists, but we like our podcast to be for all people who are part of Christianity and the Christian faith. So do you all believe, no matter what your denomination is, as a person that has a faith and that practices your faith, do you believe that it should be mandatory for you to attend a service in a building or with a group of people on a regular basis, just to say that, hey, I'm actually practicing my faith by doing that?
I'll let one of you go first.
Okay. Mandatory is like a really strong word. Like I don't believe it needs to be mandatory. I strongly believe in free will, and I believe that you can prioritize your relationship with God and the people around you however you want to in respect of the Sabbath. I don't believe that, I don't want to say forcing, but I don't believe that, should I talk about the 11 to 1 rules?
Go ahead.
So as far as this being, oh Lord, being forced to just be outside of your dorm room from 11 to 1, I don't believe that. I've also realized that makes people not want to go. Me personally, I already went to church actively without this mandatory rule. I was already there, praising the Lord, having a good time. But I believe that when you put that rule on students, it kind of makes students like push back a little, like, why are you forcing me to be here? Like, I believe your relationship with God is a relationship, and there's multiple ways to prioritize that, whether that's going for a walk, sitting in your room reading the word, taking a nap. And I believe in Sabbath rest. If I've been tired from Sunday to Friday and I want to So sorry. If I have been tired from Sunday to Friday and I want to use my free will to just rest, not like be lazy, but just like sit back a little bit, then I believe that anybody should have the ability to do that.
Right. So for those of you guys who are not affiliated with Oakwood University, we are a Seventh-day Adventist HBCU. And so most recently, the university has invited the students to be out of their rooms from 11 to 1 to practice the habit of Sabbath keeping or Sabbath rest, right? And so you don't have to go to church, but they do want you to practice some form of, I guess, engagement,
right?
If that's what you want to call it. So, but there are other countries, there are other places, there are maybe even in some of our households where it's like you have to go to church. Whether I was watching it was like, I think it was like a TikTok reel or something like that, and like it was talking about pretty much like if you spent the night over your friend's house and their mama was Baptist, if you spent Saturday night, Sunday morning, you better have some church clothes because you going to church on Sunday. So there's this idea of like, regardless if I'm a believer, I'm going to church. It's mandatory. So that's where a little backstory for those of you who may not be familiar. But yeah, I received that.
What do you think, Joe?
I think church attendance is good, and I think that we should attend church, especially if we believe a certain denomination. I think it's a good thing for all of us. I know the Bible says that we shouldn't be forsaking fellowship, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. However, when we get to the concept of legalism, I think that's where the issue arises. Multiple times in the Bible, we see Jesus confronting legalism when it comes to the Pharisees and the Sadducees and saying how it's not right and how the Sabbath should not be made a burden amongst other individuals. And for some reason with this 11 to 2, I guess kind of like Sabbath mandate, we kind of see not necessarily forcing students to church, but it can seem like an obligation for Sabbath engagement. And I think sometimes we as people might need to shy away from introducing that concept as people because we don't necessarily have the will or the authority to do that.
We don't.
Yeah, so Pastor Mann, you're in a unique position because you've served in several capacities within the religious sect and in conjunction with the educational part of it, from being a teacher to then being a chaplain on a university campus to now being a pastor, not only a pastor, but a youth and young adults pastor on a university campus. How do you feel from the pastoral perspective about mandatory church attendance?
So I think mandatory is an aggressive word, and I think mandatory is polarizing, right? But I love the word that you use, prioritizing, right? And so do I think that believers need to prioritize worship? Yes. Absolutely. I think it's very difficult to grow alone, right? I almost think it's impossible to grow alone, right? So you need people. You don't know that you don't got patience until you rub up against somebody to get on your nerves, right? I even think the word that you use about obligation, like I don't think we need to avoid the word obligation, right? Because we live in a world where everybody else has obligations. So I think there's like this weird line that I'm on, right? Because on one hand, every other place in the world has some type of obligation. Even if you go to the club, they're gonna tell you can't wear Timbs and you gotta dress a certain way, right? So the club got mandates, right? If I work at Target, I gotta wear a red shirt. I need to clock in on time. I clock out at time. I have my lunch break. I clock in at this time and this time. And these are my obligations. This is mandatory. So it's almost like everywhere else gets to have mandatory obligations, but the minute we say you have to have an obligation to church, it's like, oh no, you're forcing me. And so I just feel like we pick and choose when it's comfortable for us to have obligations and do things that are mandatory, right? When it benefits us. So if I want to get a six-pack, right, it is mandatory that I go to the gym, that I lift weights and eat right. Like if I take any of those things out, I'm not gonna see the results that I want. But I want the results, so I do the things that are mandatory. So if I wanna grow spiritually and I want to see results, I need to do some of those things. I think the Bible says, forsake not the fellowship. Now, do I think church is the only place where you can fellowship? No, I don't. I think it can look a lot of different ways. But because I'm the pastor here, what I want to make sure is that this church is a safe space to be mandatory in, if that makes sense, right? So come in your pajamas. come and I'm gonna give you some bagel. I just went and bought bagels. So like, come, I'm gonna feed you. Come in your pajamas. Come with your hair bonnet on. Come, you just rolled out of bed and you showed up and you sat down. I'm gonna make sure don't nobody say nothing to you. I'm gonna make sure you can sit in the back and be unbothered if that's what you need to do, but you're here. So I think that's the line that I'm kind of walking.
Yeah, we praise God for Pastor Man. I don't know any other pastors that are going to be saying this. If I was the pastor, I am not telling you to come in your bonnet at all. That I think that is straight disrespectful. I'm sorry. Crucify me if you want to. But I have a problem when you want to wear your best to go to Chris Brown concert, Beyonce Cowboy Carter tour, and then to the church you want to come with your bonnet.
You can't see me, but I'm clocking the T. I'm clocking the T.
That is a problem for me. God deserves our utmost and our best. And we should come with excellence. Yes, you should come as you are. So if your excellence is abundant, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the folks that their excellence isn't abundant. They have the Louis Vuitton shoes in the closet. They have the Sabbath dress. They just don't want to do it because it's church, right? So that double standard, right? When we're talking about the community, when we're talking about things that happen in our society or things that we pay for that have rules and regulations versus when it comes to the church as a building or as an organization, there's this fight. Now, I don't personally like the messaging mandate. I think mandate has, to your point, Joe, earlier, a negative connotation and it just sounds terrible. So, and I've actually had I've had several conversations with people, whether it's students or whether it's peers or other young adults, and I'm like, I think the messaging is key. So, to your point, we get mandates, but it's the messaging of the mandate. When you're working at Target and you have to wear red, we wear red as a sense of pride because this is our brand. And when they see red, they see excellence. When you work at Publix, when you have Publix on your name tag, it is the leading standard in grocery. You know what I'm saying? So I think that the messaging is the problem with the term mandate, not the practice. And I think that we blend and merge the two because the messaging comes off so strong that the actual practice and what is happening during the time is ignored. And that bothers me.
Yeah, and I honestly think like the issue is kind of like this. When it comes to the young student psyche, where we see in the Bible our God is, encourage, free will and choice and love. How can you kind of communicate those same attributes to a young student when you're saying they have to be out of their dorm at a certain time? Honestly, to me, I feel like it would be better to say that church attendance actually is mandatory than to just say you have to leave your room during these hours and give them nothing to do. So I think that, like you said, the messaging is very problematic when it comes to that. And I think we might need to kind of revisit, the life of Christ and how we could come concretely embody that when it comes to, how we're regulating student lives.
I mean, I agree with that. But also, let's go back to New Testament God. Because when he set up the sanctuary and he was like, I want this pole 10 cubits and this, you're going to use red and blue and purple. And when you come in, it's going to face the east gate. And when you walk in, you're going to bring the lamb this way. And if they did it out of order, somebody was going to end up dead, right? And the reason was not to take them outside of their free will, but the reason was to teach them something that had been lost during slavery. You see what I'm saying? So I think there's something there. So again, I agree with you in terms of the messaging, but I do think sometimes mandates needs to happen when you're trying to reteach or reintroduce. They had completely forgotten about the plan of salvation. And so God had to be like, you're going to do it in this order, in this way. So they had to do it in a certain way. You put your hand on here, you walk the lamb over there, you go in this order. And then they had to go, it was mandatory that the head of the house come and do these things in this way. So I think, yes, there's free choice, but I also think that God mandates things when he needs to teach. And I don't want to remove that. And I think that's what's trying to happen. Maybe the messaging isn't. there, but I think that's where maybe the heart of it.
And honestly, again, there will have been emphasis about things that have happened in this particular environment. But I do want to point out, we're talking in general, as Pastor Manm mentioned earlier. So what do you all think? Mm-hmm. What do you think about, your parents saying you can't be in my house on the Sabbath? You have to go to church. What do you think about your school, whether, you go to a school that's a particular religion, saying that you have to assemble on this particular day at this particular time and it's not optional? Let us know. Should church be mandatory? We want to hear what you think.
Yeah, so we want to hear what you think, but now we're coming up on our next segment, which is the real world.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.
All right, everybody, we're back with our segment called The Real World. And listen, we talk about church, but we also got to be relevant, right? We want to talk about what's happening in our world right now. And so recently, the Supreme Court passed a law that said that ICE can stop anybody based on race, just based on how you look, right? Your race, your job, what you look like, how they perceive you, and they have the right to not just stop you, but to detain you, to question you, and even potentially deport you, just because you look Spanish or you look like you are an immigrant, right? This also kind of crosses lines because we know that ICE is not just looking for immigrants. They're also bringing, National Guard into our cities to help fight crime. And they're saying that it don't matter what, if they come in your city or they come in you, they can stop and frisk you. They can ask you questions. They can detain you. And these cities are putting up fights like, nah, you're not going to come in our city and you're not going to do that. But I think it's so dangerous. It is. Right? That you now can, because okay, so for example, I'm gonna pick on you, right? Okay. So for those of you guys who are listening and not watching, the beautiful Ava here, right? She is gorgeous. She's got these pretty black curls, right? And so if I didn't know you, I could place you in any category of ethnicity, right? And so who's to say that I don't stop you just because you look like a certain place, and now I put you, your family, in harm's way. And so what do you guys think about that? How does it scare you? Does it bother you? How do we fight against that type of thing?
Yeah, I think that the system kind of needs to be revamped in terms of how ICE deals with immigrants. I think that there needs to be a better vetting process when it comes to maybe some illegal immigrants. If they're contributing to our society, then I think that we should find the ways or try to find ways to make them legal. And now if they're committing crimes or something like that, it does have to be vetted accordingly. But that will have to kind of be the process and the way we do things. Like stopping people because I think that you shouldn't be here is totally unacceptable here in this country.
What do you think?
I agree with that. Stopping somebody just because you think they look, I just don't agree with that. I just don't agree with that. In my head, it's just like what would Jesus, I always think about what Jesus would have to say or do in these kind of situations. And it's just this is just nowhere in the pathway of any type of thing that he would do. I believe that Jesus accepts all kind of people. And I don't believe that stopping somebody just because you think they should not be here is just completely wrong. And I just think that's that for me.
Yeah. So Marcia, from a policy and legal perspective.
There's so many issues. You both are right. A lot of people say, well, I'm not Hispanic or I'm not an immigrant. That has nothing to do with me. Oh, yes, it does. They can do the same thing to you and get you confused and say, oh, we think that you're Dominican, and you're like, I've never even been there. So, But to your point, we are brothers keepers. Legally, this is a very delicate situation because technically, when you talk about policing, policing is left up to states, right? And to their authority. But the president does have emergency powers. And so, and he can also ask the court to interpret certain laws that are within the Constitution in regard to his power. And so the reason why we even have the National Guards and all of these things happening is because it's considered a national emergency for a crime that's happening in a city. Now we have a problem. Now we have the federal government almost in a way usurping the authority that the state has to deal with crimes, to deal with all of the things that are happening. On top of the fact that the process for proving that you're a legal citizen is not streamlined.
Thank you.
So it depends on what ICE agent arrests you. Case in point, it's happened in real life. Someone was driving to actually coach a softball game, and the person was Hispanic. And so one of the parents, who was a white male, was like, hey, the coach isn't here. It's now an hour past. What's going on? Well, on the way to the game, the coach was stopped by the police to say that he was speeding. The coach showed, I'm not speeding at all. He was then arrested on the spot. And then instead of taking him to a jail, they actually took him to an ICE detention camp. He had to call with, I think it's one phone call, his relatives to bring his passport, and his other documents to prove that he was actually born in the state and city in which he got arrested. And that process took over 48 hours. And so he never showed up to that game, and he had to explain to all these parents why the game just did not move forward. I said that to say that situation was completely wrong. I mean, we're talking about a traffic violation. If anything, if you're going to arrest somebody, they're supposed to go to jail, not to a detention camp. And then, thank God he had a recent update of his passport, but what if he didn't have a passport? What if he didn't have any identification on him? Or what if it wasn't current? So there are a lot of issues that come into play, even when you think about travel now. The fact that you have to have a specific type of ID.
Get that real ID. Get that real ID with that yellow star.
Yes, you have to have that to travel within the United States alone. Let's not even talk about out of the country. So these things are real. But what's so sad is what is considered a national emergency is not.
It's not.
When we look at the city of Chicago, where the National Guard was deployed and ICE agents were deployed, the murder rate actually has been down for the last few months, and it's way better than it was this time last year.
And the same thing is true about D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser. She was talking about how the crime rate has gone down. Why are we sending the National Guard, you know what I'm saying, to jump in and, to do that? So I don't know. I just think it's interesting. I think we're putting a target on people's back that for all intents and purposes are doing the things that we don't want to do. Right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they are the ones, and this is no shade, so please understand what I'm saying. You have immigrants here who are trying to make a better life. So they're the ones that are willing to be the janitors. They're the ones that are cleaning our hotel rooms. They're the ones that are picking the carrots and the apples and the sweet potatoes for the Thanksgiving dinner that we're about to sit down and eat in a couple of months. And I don't know about you, but listen, I love farm to table, but I don't want to be on the farm. I want to be at the table. You know what I'm saying? So like, but there are people who are out there. I saw this one clip of how they get carrots, and you lay on your face on a tractor and you pull the carrots out as they go down the row. No thanks.
I mean, let's not talk about that Alabama and Georgia produce all the chicken for the entire country. So a lot of people are working at the chicken plants, and I already told my husband before, if I go through the process of meat, I'm good. I don't ever want
to do that again.
But how do you all feel as students, especially on campus, with the thought of ICE possibly coming to Oakwood or some other campus and just pulling people out of class or pulling people out of their dorms and sending them to some detention camp? What are your thoughts about that?
I feel like it's a little inhumane, honestly. the fact that there's no legal way for us to even stop that from happening,
Right.
like they can just come on and they have the free will to just take whatever students, regardless of what they actually are or what information they actually do have or documentation, and it's just not right ultimately.
Yeah.
It hurts.
Yeah, he said it best. It's scary. It's scary. You know, I don't like to live in fear. You know, I don't like to stay in that mindset, but it's also a real thing that does happen. So yes, it's scary. And like Joe said, it's just not right. And the fact that you can't even do anything to stop that, no matter what documents you got, is just inhumane. And yeah.
Yeah. And I was looking at this clip, and this guy was talking about how these little babies were graduating from kindergarten, and their family showed up for the kindergarten graduation, and I showed up at the kindergarten graduation,
Mercy.
and was taking parents away. So these little babies are in the audience looking out for their parents, just to see them to not show up because ICE raided the kindergarten graduation. So it's like you're targeting people in a way that makes you a bully. That makes you. We're so worried about them being the terrorists. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, the T word on camp, but like we're so worried about them when it's us. You know what I'm saying? We're the ones that have turned around now and become the bullies to so many other people in so many ways. Like they're revoking even natural citizenship. So if your grandparent or your mom was an immigrant, came here and had you, they're revoking that citizenship.
Yeah, the birthright.
The birthright citizen is like. But there, like you said, there's no streamlined way. Now, I get what you said. If you're a criminal and you committed a crime, then let's process you. But how many government people, how many Americans are criminals who aren't prosecuted, who are walking down the street, who clock into their jobs every day, but we're worried about immigrants being criminals?
Listen.
Yeah, it's just really bad for us to be a society that practices democracy, that practices welcoming all peoples to a land of dreams, hopes, and freedoms. It's almost like you say, wow, we're turning into some of the countries that, we talk about.
It's the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Like, how you contradict your own self.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. But I will say for everyone watching, please be informed. You need to know your rights. You need to understand your privileges, and I encourage everyone to read up on your local laws and regulations and ordinances. And if you don't understand it, talk to someone. YouTube is real, right?
Yes,
Google is real.
Google is real. Google
Do
University.
your research because this is really important, and the people perish for a lack of knowledge.
Okay,
and so a lot of times they'll be right at the door, and you don't even know what they are, right? So please be informed, and just know we're all our brother's keepers.
We are. And for our young adults, this is a great opportunity. Go get your social security card from underneath your mama's mattress.
Hello.
Go have a copy of your birth certificate. Have a copy of your passport. Have a copy of your ID and those things. Like, we now have to be responsible for our freedom,
Yeah. It's real heavy, y'all. So I think we need to get in our feelings a little bit. Let's lighten the mood up just a little bit. And we'll be back. We're gonna get all the way deep down in our feelings.
Yes.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.
Hey everybody, we are back.
We're back.
This is, I think, this is my favorite segment. Like, I try not to be biased, but we're gonna be talking about in my feelings, and we're about to get in our feelings.
All
okay?
the way deep in.
So right now, there's a whole thing on social media where Russell Wilson, we know he's married to the Sierra, and they have multiple children. But before Sierra was with Russell Wilson, she had a child with Future, right? And so, but Future's Future's child, Future and Sierra's child, lives with Russell Wilson and Sierra. They're their primary caregivers. So Russell Wilson just made headlines for changing Future's son's name and giving him his last name, right? And so you got all these people who are like, oh, he's a simp. Oh, you know what I'm saying? That's somebody else's child. And he needs to let Future take care of his own child. He's doing too much. He's trying to be everybody's daddy or everybody's savior, right? And it's a whole argument on social media right now. Like a whole thing about like, in a blended family, if you get together, is it the responsibility of the new spouse or the new person to have responsibility or even adopt the last name of that child? You know what I mean? What do y'all think?
Okay, I'll go. I guess I would just like to know the reason, because I know, you know, Russell obviously stepped in and he's basically been taking care of Future's son, you know, alongside his other children with Sierra. And that's honestly commendable. My only question could be, now, what was the reasoning for changing his name? Like,
That's true.
we've obviously seen you step in and become that father, so we know that the relationship is there and we're commending you for that. Now, it could also be the case that maybe the son asked for it.
Yeah,
You know,
I see
it
a lot
could-
of situations like
I think it's one of those things where we actually don't know all the facts behind it. And I wouldn't necessarily call him a simp for that. I think he stepped in and he's kind of doing, you know, his job. I mean, he married Sierra, so he has to take on not only the children that they had together, but her other child as well. So it's honestly really commendable. But I just have a few questions about the reasoning behind changing his name.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I agree with that. It's hard, like, when you don't know all the things that go on behind the scenes. But I've seen a lot of stories where, like, somebody will remarry somebody and the kid that's coming into the family, they've created this bond. And I do believe that family is just more than blood. It's a relationship too. So I believe that, you know, if they have that relationship and, for example, the other parental figure is not, like, stepping in and taking care of that child, and a child, like, wants a mother and dad, they want that, you know, they want that in their lives. So if that relationship is going that well and the child's like, hey, you know, I would like to, then I think that's okay. I've seen a lot of times, I even saw a video on TikTok where a girl was graduating and her stepfather was sitting in the crowd, and it was like a surprise for him where they read out her name, but his last name was on the end of it. And I think that's beautiful. So like Joe said, it's hard when you don't know everything, but I believe that it's okay for that to happen.
Why are we even talking about this?
Yeah, because the whole thing.
What? Who? Like, huh? Like, this is these people's business. Like, I'm not.
Like, that's what I'm saying.
I'm
I
not
just
really
don't-
concerned with who somebody's last name is. Like, that's not that big
People
of a
just love
deal.
stuff to just talk about
Be
and
honest
just-
with you, a lot of people do that when their parent, their primary caregiving parent who has typically physical custody of the child, if it's the woman, if that woman remarries, most kids actually take on the name of their stepfather, you know, and their step-parent. So this is not anything. I'm sure many people watching this be like, oh yeah, like, yeah, my dad, me and my siblings don't have the same dads, but we all have the same last name. So it's more common than not for people to be a part of a family. It's blended. There might be a difference in, like, two parents, you know, one may all have the same mom or one may all have the same dad.
Yeah.
The dad is easier, obviously, because if you have the same dad, then you automatically gonna have the same name. But the mom is where you get kind of more questionable. But a lot of times you see, and it doesn't matter about race, we're like, oh no, that's a white or Caucasian thing. No, I think in general, if somebody remarries and they're committed and they've been in a relationship for a while, you see it all the time. I even personally have friends who their spouse may have had a child out of, you know, wedlock early before they even met them, and then they got married, had kids together, and then eventually everybody had the same last name. So it's more common than not for people to have all the same last name when they live together, when they're a family unit together, and everything else. Now, to play devil advocate, I am curious, was there any pushback from Future? I don't know how many sons he has. I don't know how many kids he has.
A lot, like 8 or 9.
Well, yeah. So then that would be the thing. Like, was there any pushback from him? But outside of that, I don't even understand. People are interesting. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah,
like, why
it's
are we talking about this? What?
But here's the thing. We also live in a context where this is not an issue in our context, because typically in religious environments, right? People be like, oh, you the stepdaddy, now you the daddy. Like we tend to do that. But as you know what I'm saying? So I'm a product of a blended family, right? So I am the last child of a family of 7, right? And although we have the same dad, you know, so it was very much a blended family. My family blends. Like literally, you come to our cookout, the ex-wife, then the ex-ex-wife, then the ex-wife's old kids gonna come to, like, everybody comes to the family. When we have family cookouts, we have to go around a circle and ask people how they related. Because people just show up. You be like, who are you? Oh, you Uncle Calvin's ex-wife's son. Cousin's brother's dad. Okay. Welcome. And even like for me, so my dad remarried and had me with my mom, but like when both my parents worked in a hospital. And so during holidays, if they both had to work at the hospital, I went to my dad's ex-wife's house for Thanksgiving, right? So I kind of grew up in that dynamic, but you would be surprised how many people outside of our religious context really have an issue with stuff like that. Like, that's not your child. I don't care if I'm a deadbeat, or maybe I'm not a deadbeat. Maybe I am participating in that child's life. You don't get to give that child somebody else's last name. I've seen situations where like, yeah, they can have my last name, but what happens when it comes time to take the financial responsibility? Who pays for college? Who pays for the wedding? Is it the stepdaddy?
What y'all think?
Daddy? You know what I'm saying? Who?
I guess my only question would kind of be, should this be a decision that's left to the child when they become of age or get a little bit older, maybe like around high school age? Should they be the ones deciding whose name they want to take after? Because
that's a good point.
I think you need to give the child an opportunity to, even if their dad is a deadbeat or whatever parent, to allow them the room to actually make that conscious decision. Do I want to carry this last name?
Right.
Or do I not?
Yeah, I think I read though, but am I wrong? But I thought that the son was excited about having the last name and being a part of.
Yes.
So I don't really, honestly, y'all, it's probably weird for him that he doesn't. Let's just be real. This is not a family that has been hiding, you know, like these other people who don't want to post their kid's face. Please don't be that person that posts your kid's body and then has a emoji over the face.
Heart emoji.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
A little flower.
I digress though, but they're the Wilsons, their little whole family life has been in the public, in the media from day one. Both of them are highly public figures, and Sierra does not make it a secret about their family, and neither does Russell Wilson. So I'm not shocked that the child probably was like, this is great. We all got the same last name, and he don't have to go to, you know, a friend's house or a party and explain why his name isn't like this, or feel differently when they call out his name in the program. His other siblings, they're calling out something else. Who knows the dynamic? I think that the reason why I said who cares is not that it's not something you should care about, but I think it's so personal to that particular unit. It's not our business why they decide what they want to do, when they want to do it, how they want to do it. I do like what you said though, Joe. I do think it's important though that those processes are discussed with the children at a young age, but maybe if they get older, they have the option. Even if you did switch it, they have the option to switch back. And people do that too all the time. I've seen people be like, no, that my mama or my daddy made me have that name. That's not my name. I'm going to my real name now. You know, I want to be affiliated with my real name. But financially, I don't think a change of last name gets you to get out of that. No, you still need to. This is your child. We don't care about the last name. You still need to support. He got that many kids. He probably like, well, I mean, I got it.
But he keeps coming. He keeps showing up. It seems like every time they try to pull this little boy into their family, Future shows up with some mess. You know what I mean? And I think it's hard when you have a blended family. I think it's very difficult when like the other parents are not willing to be adults. You know what I mean? Or willing to say, well, let's work this out. If he is at your house, if you eating my groceries 95% of the time, baby, you mine. You know what I'm saying? So I think, I don't know.
Who gets to claim them on the taxes? That's the real question.
Right, but I think it's so hard when you make kids tax babies, or when you make, you know what I'm saying, like you I don't know, I just think blended families are something we don't talk about in the church, but so many people are part of blended families that, you know what I'm saying, that it's something that's real and something that could be a sore spot. Like how come people got my mom got married, but he didn't take my last name? How come I got a stepdad, my mama got a husband, but
I agree.
Oh
no, go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
yeah, I agree with Joe how it should be up to the child. Me personally, I am in a blended family. My mom remarried. My dad remarried. I have a sister from the product of my mom, my stepfather, and nothing's a problem. You know, I still have my dad's last name, but like we're all still one family. Like I believe that it should be up to the child, and that, you know, again, family is not just, you know, blood or last name, it's a relationship. So it should be up to the child. But those discussions, I believe, are important to be had because it's just crucial. So yeah, that's just my point of view.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
No, that was perfect.
It was.
That was a perfect end. What do y'all think about Russell Wilson, Sierra?
Or just blended families
Or
in
blended
general.
families.
Yeah, we ain't gotta talk about them, but we were,
In
you know,
general.
just in our feelings. So.
Yeah. What do you think about the name change? Are you changing the name? Are you keeping your name? Do you not care about the name? Right? Well, anyways, we have been enjoying spending some time with these lovely people in the studio. And please, we want you to like,
subscribe,
comment.
share, comment,
watch it at your church, watch it
share.
on Friday nights, watch it when you have to be out the dorm from 11 to 1.
Oh, mercy. Okay, and that note, that was Pastor Man that said that last part. But yes, no, please like, share, comment, subscribe, be a digital disciple.
Apple Apostle.
Yes, and join us on the rewatch as well. Well, we thank you for tuning in to our Cube Table Talks, where we keep it real,
Where we keep it relevant,
and where we keep it raw.
Bye.
Amen. Bye.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.